Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham. Let them. Go now. Take.
He is not happy with
Go now, now go. Now you chase him out. That's okay. Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham. Good. Now we have been seeing what is this subtle body. This subtle body is predominant in the Swapna Avastha. In the Swapna Avastha, the inherent tendencies, the vasanas in us is projected through the mind. So it gets projected and we see wonderful scenes there. And even the experience of the seer also is part of the mind only. So everything is part of the mind, is projected there. Since the buddhi is little doped, not available, anything and everything you can see there. Sometimes very illogical also. You may see something illogical also. So that is why it is. And Katradi Bhavam Pratipadhya Rajate Yatra Swayam Bhati Ki Ayam Paratma. And this Paramatma, it reflects in this subtle body. And because of the reflection, everything is known. But this Paramatma who is reflected is not tainted by the activities of the subtle body. So he remains as a detached Sakshi Matram. So that is our true self actually. But we identify with the body mind and we become a Jiva. And we suffer. If we can remain as the Paramatma, just a Sakshi Matram, then
locus is not going to be the body mind. What is going to be the locus then?
Self itself is the locus. There is no, the self alone is truth. That is the best locus actually. If you know what is self,
all pervading.
Don't imagine what is all pervading and all. You go there and see how it is. That is something very intense. So that is the locus, nothing else. You don't imagine to be something all pervading and all. There, be there, and you know what it is, and it is the real. Hey, Pora now. No, you chase him, otherwise he will not go. Now you finished everything. You are going to close everything or what? He will not like it. If you close, he will not. No, Irka. Pista Irka. Avana pista va. No, he is coming now. Anyway, it's okay. Let him come.
We have to think about tomorrow and after.
That's true. Okay. So, that is what we have seen. He is not tainted. He is not tainted by any of these activities. So, when he is rooted, when we are rooted there, we are there. So in front of our kutia, if you see, there is a beautiful mural painted in front of. So there you see two birds. That is from Mundaka Upanishad. So one bird is always eating. The other bird is just a sakshi, witnessing, not eating. Meaning, this is eating. And you are all watching. So the bird which is eating is a jiva, who is always, enjoying or suffering. But that which is not involved in anything, just observing, that is the Paramatma. Right? Now people are only concerned about the monkeys. Okay. Now we will move on. The 100th verse. We have scored a century now. 100th verse. Sarvavyapratikaranam lingam idam syachidhatmana pumsaha. The meter is little different only. Vasyadikamiva takshnaha tenaivatma bhavat asangoyam bhavatyasangoyam. I don't know what meter. Anyway, let us. Sarva vyapratikaranam lingamidam syat chidatmana pumsaha vasyadikamiva takshnaha. See, this analogy is given here. How dare, no, how many people are here, but still this fellow. If you go, he will pounce on you. Yeah. But okay, the video recording is going on. We will have two gods here. So, Vasyadikamiva takshnaha. Takshnaha means the carpenter. As the carpenter uses his tools, Vasyadikamiva, the tools, various tools he uses, no? Like a chisel, like a hammer, and all those stuff. Like that, this Chidatmanaha Pumsaha, this Atma, the self, that uses this lingam as a equipment, Sarva Vyaprita Karanam, for all its activity. Vyapriti means for all its activities, this subtle body is used as the equipment or as the tools. By whom? By this Pumsaha Chidatmanaha. For this Atma, the self, the subtle body becomes the tool or the equipment with which it can experience. It can echo joys and sorrows. Though it is said that way, this Atma bhavati asangahayam. But this Atma is always detached. Meaning what? See, please listen carefully. When this Atma, the self, the light of consciousness, expresses through the mind and intellect, mana buddhi, then the subtle body, the gross body is energized. And the subtle body is the equipment with which everything can be done, the mind. But even though, as I told you, the car and the petrol, even though the Atma is sort of the power behind everything, it is not involved in anything. See, this is the thing again and again emphasized by our acharyas, without which nothing will happen, but it is not involved in anything, not tainted by anything. See, this you can see in the lives of great Mahatmas, like our Kanchi Mahaperiyava, or Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi, or even Gurudev Swami Chinmayanandaji and all. When they are there, in their presence, all the devotees will do this, that, everything. They are inspired and they do everything. But they are not involved. They are with themselves. They are very detached and they are not involved. But because of their Sannidhi Vishesha, with their presence, everybody is inspired and everybody does everything. But they are detached. Something like that. This Atma, the self also, is an inspiration for all the other bodies to function. But it is not involved in anything. Therefore, it is not tainted by the good or bad karmas of that jiva. Good or bad done by the subtle body. And that Atma we are. So like the carpenter who uses his tools, the Atma uses this subtle body. But nothing happens to the carpenter actually. When he is doing something, nothing happens to the carpenter. Similarly, whatever happens to the tools, but nothing happens to the carpenter. Similarly, to this Atma, nothing happens. It remains kutastavat tishtati. It remains unmoving, not changing. But you should not extend this, stretch this example, right? But sometimes, carpenter also get hurt. Don't stretch the example, please. You should not stretch the example. No example is perfect. So you should not stretch and kutarka you should not ask. But Swamiji, sometimes, the carpenter also get hurt. Like that Atma also will be hurt sometimes. No. Atma is not at all involved. It is not at all touched, not at all tainted. So this is the main theme of our Adhyatma. Atma, it gives power, Shakti to everything, but it is not involved in anything. So if you are involved with everything, you are like that bird which is sitting in the lower branch. Then you have to enjoy or suffer. Both are manaha only, minds only. But if you are like that upper bird, you just watch and observe, sakshi matram. Then you enjoy anandam, paramanandam. By remaining sakshi, the inherent ananda is expressed, atmanandam. But when you are involved in the world, only whatever you get through the senses, that is yours. But it is always tainted with lot of sorrows only. So that is the idea. We have to be the Atma, the self. Now moving on. Andhatva mandhatva padutva dharmaha saugunya vaigunya vashadhi chakshushaha bhadirya mukatva mukastataiva shrotradi dharma nadu vetturatmanaha Andatva mandatva patutva dharmaha saugunya vaigunya vashadhi chakshushaha bhadirya mukatva mukastataiva shrotradi dharma natu vetturatmanaha. Sometimes a person is born blind, andatvam. Andatvam means blind. And when you grow old, you can't hear properly. Mandatvam. Mandatvam means not properly you can hear. Sometimes patutvam. Everything is very clear, very sharp. Your eyes or your ears are very sharp. Pambu kadu solanga, pambu chevini. Like a snake they say, but I don't know whether the snake have got any ears or not. But they say, pambu chevi manga. They can hear everything. So these dharmas belong to the sense organs. Chakshushaha. If somebody is blind or not able to see or see clearly, that is the nature, that is the guna of the eyes. Eyes are very healthy, therefore he is able to see clearly. If eyes are not healthy, then mangala, it's not that clear. So these deficiencies doesn't belong to Atma, the self. It is only of the senses. Similarly, bhadirya, mukatva, when somebody is deaf or somebody is dumb, it all belongs to the sense organs or organs of action. Somebody is limping, something like that. So all those things belong to the equipments and not to the natu vetaram atmanaha, not to that all-knowing self, meaning self is purnam. It is perfect. It has no defects. That is the self of all. Not only self of this personality, self of all. In that Atma, the self, there is no imperfection. It is perfect. If at all there is imperfection seen, it is because of the sense organs, the equipments. The equipments are faulty. Suppose there is something wrong with the bulb. So the light is not peeping out that much, let us say. It is not the fault of the electricity. Electricity is coming through all the equipments. That particular equipment is faulty. That is why it is not functioning properly. Similarly, these faults are because of the equipment, not because of that Atma, the self, which gives all the power to these equipments. So not only that, it is not tainted. by all the actions of the equipment. If something happens to the equipment also, nothing happens to the self. See, our Acharya, he always quotes, if a bulb is fused, nothing happens. What happens to the electricity? Nothing happens to the electricity. Suppose if this body is fused and gone, what happens? Nothing happens. In fact, there is more peace in the world. My God, if I leave and go, all my children and wife, what they will do? They will be very happy. Because we are the troublemakers. So when we go, I go, everything is auspicious. Is that not so? So therefore, these defects are not belonging to the Atma, the self. It's only of the equipment. Therefore, Atma is untainted and without any defect. It is perfect. It is Purnam. That is the Siddhantam. Right? Now, different functions of the prana is explained in the next verse. Uchvasa nishvasa vijrumbhanaksha nishvasa vijrumbhanakshut praspandanadyutkramanadika kriyaha pranadikarmani vadanti tajñaha pranasya dhama vasana pipase nasya dharma vasana pipase. See, what are all the activities of the prana? Uchvasa, nishvasa. It goes in, it comes out. Is that not so? Konjo, if it forgets to go out or come in, that is all. That is the end of the story. So continuously it is going and coming out. And this prana is responsible for vijrumbana. Now sometimes when you are very bored, you yawn, na? And sneezing also. Praspandana, adi, etc., etc. And also utkramana. Even the jiva, to go away from this body, to take off from this body also, prana is required. When the prana is very weak, and the uyir piriyavam piriyadu, the jiva will not even leave. Iruthutte kadakkum. In the last moment, the jiva is not even going away. So people now pray for the jiva to go. See, earlier the prayer was what? The jiva should become all right. But after a certain point, oh God, let it go. Before others pray for you, you pray for yourself. When you are healthy and hale and hearty, you pray. Before others pray for you, you pray. This I saw behind an auto, you know. Before others pray for you, you pray for yourself. How nice. How nice. So even for that, utkramanadikaha kriyaha, for that also prana is required. These are all the functions of the prana. Says pranadi karmani vadanti tajñaha. Those who know about prana, they say these are all the functions of prana. See, when you yawn, what it means, you know, very less oxygen content you have got. So the body needs more oxygen. That is why it is yawning. So take in oxygen actually. Something like that. So all these things are to do with prana. Pranasya dharmaha ashana pipase. And also the hunger and thirst are the dharma of the prana. Prana kosha. If you are hungry and thirsty, remember, actually it is the cheshta of prana or prana upadi. Pranamaya kosha. So that is why when you don't eat properly, when you don't drink, you will feel without energy, no energy to do anything. Because prana is Shakti, na? So when you eat and drink and live very happily, healthily, then you can do things. This is about the prana. Now, the idea of ego is discussed. So manaha, buddhi, ahankara, and then chittam. Antakaranas we have got 4, na? Now ego is discussed. What is this ego? This is the pet subject of Bhagavan. He discusses in detail about ego, amritti. And then he says what is behind it. But in Vedanta Shastra, it is handled in a little different way. See how Bhagavan handles it is little different. Here, it's slightly different actually. See, Bhagavan doesn't, distinguish between mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankara and all. Always he says manam only. Bhagavan, whenever you go to him, he says mana only. And then he says this aham vritti or this ahankara. He doesn't much talk about, distinguish between mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankara and all. See, each Mahatmas have got their own, technique, methodology. You should understand what they are trying to reveal. If you go to Nisargadatta Maharaj also, he has a different set of vocabulary. Sometimes it may be little different from what we have learned traditionally. So we should understand what he is trying to convey. For that you need some sort of a intuitive understanding. Only when you are thorough with what you have learned, then you understand whatever they are talking about. Otherwise it's difficult, because same terminology will be used with a different connotation. So it's very difficult to catch it. So here, traditionally how it is discussed, ego, we will see. Antakaraname-teshu chakshuradishu varshmani ahamityabhimanena tishtatyabhasa tejasa antakaraname-teshu chakshuradishu varshmani aham ityabhimanena tishtati abhasya tejasa. See, antakaranam-eteshu, when these antakaranas are functioning, chakshuradishu, and also the eyes, etc., the sense organs, varshmani means when they are functioning in their own fields, abhasa tejasa means the reflected light, the light of the consciousness which is reflected in the antakarana. Abhasa means what? Reflection. Tejas means light. Abhasa tejasa, the reflected light which illuminates all those things for you, that rises as I. Ahamiti abhimanena tishtati. It rises as I. And Bhagavan Ramana says it is identification with the body mind that rises as I. Meaning what? The eyes cannot see by itself, right? You understand that? And the mind by itself cannot think. That is what the Shastras say. Only when the light of consciousness is reflected, then with the help of the light of consciousness, I can see. The mind can feel. So that reflected consciousness is expressing as the Jiva Bhava I. That is what is said here. Ahamitya abhimanena tishtati abhasa tejasa. That reflected consciousness light alone is expressing as this I and illuminating the senses and the mind. That is what is said here. If you want more clarity, you go and read Gurudev's commentary also. He is also trying to point out the same thing. See, the reflected consciousness, when it proclaims everything to be itself, the body, the subtle body, the eyes, everything to be, I am the seer, I am the knower, I am the feeler. This abhimanena. This abhimana cannot happen without the light of consciousness, reflected light of consciousness. So always the reflected light of consciousness is brought into the picture, and then there is a notion that I am seeing, I am hearing, I am, experiencing. That is how the ego is born. Then the perception or the feeling or the thoughts happen. According to Vedanta, this is how it is happening. Edhukku Swamiji the Vamballa? I am able to see na, that is enough na. Yeah, you are able to see. But without the attention, nothing is known to you. See, this is very important. See, you may be looking at me. You may be hearing whatever I am speaking. But if your mind is not attentive here, nothing will be registered. Is that not so? Even to hear me and even to appreciate what I am saying, your attention should be here. Na? That attention is called as reflected consciousness. That is the light of consciousness. Without that attention, nothing is known. Eyes are open. Please understand, eyes are open. And yes, and the mind is operative behind the mind, behind the eye. But still, because the reflected consciousness is not peeping out through it, it is elsewhere, nothing is registered. Therefore, this is very important for all other experiences. The Atma Chaitanyam is very important. Without Atma Chaitanyam, reflected consciousness, nothing is known. Yes? You want to say something?
Swamiji, in the sun, there is a lake, clear water, sun reflecting and you see it clear. If there is impurity, which I have seen some video in YouTube, when it was shaking.
Yeah, they are going to talk about all those things.
It will come?
Yeah, it will come. When it is muddy, then everything is muddy, shaky, all those stuff will come.
So reflection is happening if there is water is clear.
No. Reflection is happening because there is water. If water is muddy, reflection will be dull.
And what is water in this?
Mind. Mind is the water. Antakarana is the water. That idea also is going to be explained later. When Jiva aspect comes, now we are discussing about Ahanka, ego and all. In Vedanta Shastra, they bring in Jiva in a very different way. That time everything will be explained. Whatever you are speaking now will be explained then.
Jiva is different from ego.
No. According to Bhagavan, he says ego self is the Jiva. But Vedanta Shastra a little bit handles in a different way. But it doesn't make much difference actually. Don't worry about that. Everything is same only. We will come. See, he is going to explain everything now. He will not leave everything behind. Everything is going to explain. Anything behind he will not leave. That's what I said in the first class only. We should have patience. He is going to explain everything. Evlo verses, now only 100 was 480 verses still remaining. Okay. Ahankarassa Vigneyaha Karta Bhokta Bhimanyayam Sattvaadi Guna Yogena Shavastatrayam Ashnute Ahankarassa Vigneyaha Karta Bhokta Bhimanyayam Sattvaadi Guna Yogena Chavastatrayam Ashnute. So Vigneyaha, please understand, please know, Ahankaraha Karta Bhokta Abhimanyayam. This Ahankara only, he proclaims himself to be, I am the doer, I am the enjoyer. So this Ahankari, he has got this sense of agency. I am the doer. See, whenever you have got the sense of agency, I am the doer, without any doubt, there is the sense of enjoyership also. What? I have done this, so I want this kind of a result, because I am the enjoyer. See, when you are egoistic, how you express, I am doing it with so much of difficulty, I am struggling and I am doing it, Therefore, I want the result to be this way, this particular way. But it will not happen that way all the time, because there are so many factors involved. Why we dictate like that? Because I have done it and I want to enjoy the fruits. Arey, nalla irke. I put in all efforts and you enjoy, or what? I have put in efforts. I want to enjoy all the fruits. This is ahankara. So, O Lord, whatever be thy will, let be done, means what? You are accepting the fruits. When you start accepting the fruits, then the ego also, the kartrutva abhimana also, little bit gets diluted. Then we realize, I am not the actual soul doer. There are so many things responsible for this to happen. Therefore we say Daivam. Daivam means what? An unknown factor, X factor is always involved in all the happenings. Ahankara vimudhatma kartahamidi manyate. Only a deluded fool, he thinks I am the doer. Actually speaking, the Atma, the self, is not involved in anything. We are Atma, the self. Only when we identify the body mind, then we become the doer. The Ahankara, it says, I am the doer. I know everything. I is the Ahankara. I am seeing, I am hearing, I know everything. I am the doer. I am the enjoyer. This is ahankriti, aham vritti, meaning what? I. So this kartrutva abhimana and bhoktritva abhimana, they really create a lot of troubles in our life actually. If we can surrender this kartrutva abhimana, saying, I am just an instrument in the hands of the Lord. He is the doer. And if we can say, whatever happens is fine, I accept it as prasada, then this goes down. Then the ego goes down. Sattvadi gunayogena avastatrayam ashrute. This ego only is going through this avastatrayam. All the three states according to sattva, rajas or tamas. So this fellow who is claiming this body mind to be himself, and he says, I am so and so, and I am doing, I am enjoying, and I want liberation. I am bound. So this fellow, he is what? He is a kichadi of matter and spirit. This ahankara is actually not belonging to the matter also, because body will not say I. Sada udal na nennadu satchit udiyadu udal alavam naan enrudikkumidu idayilidu, Bhagavan says. The body will not say I, and the self will not rise or fall. In between there is something which rises, identifying with the body as I, Bhagavan says. That is ego, he says. Identification with the body mind, something rises, saying I am this. That is ego. And it says I am the doer, I am the enjoyer. Everybody should worship me, should respect me, my way or hit the highway. See, if both husband and wife, they are very highly egoistic, then what happens? Both feels my way or highway, hit the highway. So both hit the highway separately. She will go in the south, he will go in the north. If at least one has got less ego, then that family will run. Actually, the person who has less ego is a bhagyavan. The person who is asserting always is actually a terrible person. But they think they are very smart, they are asserting, everything is happening according to their will and all. Bhayangara egoistic, and they will suffer a lot. The person who is humble, accepts, he is of less ego, so he will not suffer that much. So, paniya pavamahalum. When you give up your ego, you are happy, you are peaceful, there is harmony. At least one should be like that in the two. If you find your wife to be hot-headed, very terrible, you become very humble and very quiet. at least the family will run proper. Your children may be, happy. If both of you like pay pisas, if you start dancing, then everything will go for 6. That is what happened. Nowadays, what's happening, everybody is egoistic. Everybody wants their way. Very impatient. Not at all, thinking about from the other shoes. That is why this jagda is happening. People are talking about only the rights. What about the responsibilities? What about the duties? They don't talk about duties at all. Only rights. See, this is the problem. This is not smart living, intelligent living. This is actually egoistic living. And our miseries are directly proportional to our ego. You go and see such people, they are very miserable lot. Not only they are miserable, they make everybody miserable. They see to it that everybody is miserable. So this ahankara polladadu, very dangerous, huh? But it is very subtle. We may not even know how it operates. When somebody says, I am dasanu dasan, adiyarukkellam adiyen, that is also ego only. That is a very subtle ego. He is acting to be very, very, very humble. That is also ego. You may not understand. That is also ego. With whatever means you are trying to attract attention, that is ego only. Some people attract attention in different way, na? Very humble, very nice, very compassionate. Why? Everybody, they want everybody to appreciate them. What a nice soul. See, if you are deliberately doing this with an idea of wanting some recognition, attention, it's all play of ego only. You understand what I am saying?
Humble ego.
A very humble ego. That is very subtle and dangerous ego. Because he may not know that it is ego. So therefore, egoless state is something else actually. To understand that everything is happening because of His grace and we are nothing in that scheme of things. And not only that, as a self, we are not involved in anything. We are not tainted by anything. And we are Purnam. We don't want anything from the world. No recognition, no appreciation, nothing, because we are self-sufficient. We don't seek anybody's validation. We need not prove anything to anybody. Because as a self, we are Puranam. So this is the idea. So the ego, that only goes through all these avasthas. But Swamiji, 1 minute, in the deep sleep state, it is said there is no ego. But Shastras say there is a very, 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 or, this vritti is there, ajnana vritti and all. It's a very technical thing. We need not break our heads. That is why it is said, he only goes through all the avasthas. See, when you go to very technical things, lot of things you need to really understand. Sometimes it will be overwhelming, for the beginners. Already this is overwhelming. So whenever it comes, we will handle that. Om Purnamadha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. So tomorrow evening only we are going, not today evening, to the hill.